However, I did feel called right when I sat down to maybe just do a quick chat about vocation. Okay, so sphere of your vocation, as I see it. First, I think the probably the most important thing to remember about your vocation is that it holds the same place in your profile as your core wound, right? So we go from IQ to EQ to SQ to core. And that really is the heart, pun intended, of the Venus sequence work, right? Those spheres are like the beefy part of the Venus sequence. And that culmination in the sphere of your core, the pathway that leads to that, so connecting your SQ to your core is called the pathway of realization. And it is all about going to the deepest, darkest recesses of you. And when I say deepest, darkest, I don't necessarily mean shadowy, although I promise you'll encounter that. But what I mean is like the deep places of your being. Because what we're doing when we're walking that pathway of realization is Richard describes it as sealing the five senses. And they actually seal in reverse order to how they came online. And I can't remember exactly what the order is, but I remember that the last one to go is touch because it's the first one that comes online as we're in the womb. But basically, what's happening here with the sealing of the five senses, which Richard didn't create this, this comes from the East. I'm not exactly sure what tradition, but what we're doing is reclaiming energy so that we can create this toroidal field around us, so that we can create this kind of vacuum space that can be constantly filled from, maybe think of it as like another dimension, if you will, or some other place, some other plane, some spiritual plane of being. Because remember, closed systems don't actually exist, right? The rules of thermodynamics only hold in closed systems. And closed systems are only true if you only believe in what you can see with your five senses. But if we believe that there's more that we can see with our five senses, then there is energy that is coming in from other places, even though it appears through those five senses that it's closed. So, as so think about what happens with your senses. Think about what they do as it relates to your being. Like when we hear something that is of interest to us, we get pulled in that direction, right? And we want to listen more. When we see something that is enticing to us, we want to move towards it so that we can engage with it. When we smell something, right? I have got soup going downstairs and I want to go down there and get that soup in my mouth. The point here is that all of these things suck energy from us. And it doesn't necessarily mean like that's part of being human, right? And part of moving in the world is that it requires energy. But when we are walking this pathway of realization and contacting our core wound, it really is a period of time where the external stimuli need to be lessened so that you can get all the way in because this core wound is a deep, deep, deep down in there. It happens in the womb. Remember, another name for this is the sacred wound. So this is something that happens before you're out in the world. It's nothing that happened to you in your life. It's simply a part of being human. It's a part of the human condition. And it is, in fact, what drives all of the dissatisfaction that we feel in the world. We tell ourselves that it comes from the different things that are happening through our five senses. But in reality, when you walk this pathway of realization and you do contact your core, what you will find, or what I found, is that everything that I was doing was driven by a desire to avoid suffering at its deepest root, which I realized was a sense of separation, right? Which is the six line wound, which you guys know I have sixes a lot of different places. It's interesting because I also my core and therefore my vocation is actually a line one. And so that is more about repression, and it's repressing this like deep-seated fear in the core, this deep-seated knowing that something's not quite right. And again, that comes from this core wound, this sacred wound. Now, as we contact that wound and we begin to be able to see its energy, and this really didn't become true for me until I was able to raise the vibration passing through this particular area of my profile into the baseline being the gift frequency. And it's important to remember that we're constantly changing in frequency. It's constantly shifting up and down. So when I say raising it to the gift frequency, it's not like it's always there, right? I certainly have days where we're dropping into the shadow, and I have moments of pure intoxication, which is I have the 56 there, right? So that's the city. However, what you will typically find is like anything, there is a point of homeostasis that feels like home. And that's what I'm talking about is this place that feels like home needed to raise up a little bit in vibration until I could see that deepest core wound, in fact, is the greatest gift that I have to offer to the world. And that's why your sphere of your core wound is also your vocation. It's this deep, deep, deep inner drive to help other people. And this is my words, not Richard's, to help other people move through the same transition that you just went through. In other words, recognizing what is the true cause of the suffering. What are you really at your core? And once you have those realizations, there's something inside that just flips that is like, that's the most important thing in the world. And every cell in my being wants other people to experience the same thing that I'm feeling. Um, I've had the realization lately that I was overly attached to that idea. So that's again going back to balance. We cannot force anyone to see things this way, right? And I had almost this desperation of like, please just see this so that you can shift and grow um and that's not the right underlying energy. People will move when they're ready to move. And so it's just being the example and being there, being the rock, being ready for when they're ready, I think is the deepest work. So that's the kind of precursor here of flipping from your core wound into your vocation. Are there any questions about that process or anybody who wants to speak to maybe their move through that at all? Yeah, Haley said that energy, that kind of pushing energy has the opposite effect, which I agree. It's like we push out and that causes people to step back instead of to step forward, which makes sense, right? If somebody's running at you, you're going to step back out of the way. You're not going to run back towards them. Whereas if you're waiting patiently, then we have a chance. I can't remember what gene key it is, but Richard talks about like the importance of the approach, and he likens it like with animals, right? Like if there's a dog, especially a dog that's kind of skittish, if you try and go up to that dog, you're doomed, right? But if you just sit there and crouch down and hold your hands out and just wait, that dog's going to come over and is going to investigate and will be tentative, but they're not running away. William, please.
Yeah. So I had a question. When I was trying to do work around that vocation area, I'm line one. And so I feel like in understanding the lines that it's more for initiation on myself. And so I just didn't know if the vocation is to help drive others or not drive others, but like to go
Understood.
work with others in that area. But it's a line one. Is that like counterproductive?
Got it. So my understanding of vocation actually isn't that you're doing the like the energy that's within that sphere doesn't necessarily leave you. It is your inner driver. So think of your vocation as like the engine that makes you want to wake up in the morning and put your feet on the ground to do the work that it is you're going to do in the outer world. And that is more tied to your brand or your life's work. So I think maybe
Okay.
that's the understanding for you is like your vocation is the inner engine or motor, whereas your life's work is how you're meeting other people out in the world. So it's almost like the fuel that you need
Hmm.
that constantly makes sure you have enough energy to fulfill your soul's dharma.
Okay. So like, does that look like when you say inner fuel, is it just like focusing on myself then? Like when I wake up in the morning, it's like, okay, this is my drive. Like, or is it like, okay, I guess I'm confused on like how does that separate from my life's work type of
So
thing.
I
Do
would
you,
say it's two parts. And I think the first part is what you named. It's this knowing that the number one duty that you have is to get your energy in a place that resonates love. And
okay,
so all of the self work that you are doing, that's why we're doing it, right? Is so that we can raise our frequency to a point where it's not our words that are affecting other people, but it's how we show up. That's why we're making the time and giving the energy to those practices. The other piece of it, though, to bring in like business lingo, has to do with like your purpose and mission. So
yeah,
it's
okay,
like getting rock solid clear on what your, I'll use mission so it's not confusing with the sphere of purpose. Like what is your mission in the world? And when you deeply contact your vocation, all the other shit just falls away. All the habits, all the like all of it. And again, for me it depends on the day. Some days it's really easy to do that. Some days it's really difficult to do that. But it's this inner knowing of like, okay, I'm here for something. And because I know that I'm here for something, this is what I'm like moving towards. And therefore all of the behaviors that are counter to that begin to fall by the wayside.
I see. Okay. I think that's starting to make a bit of sense. It's just the specific gene keys I have, and I won't go into those ones, but it just feels like it's hard to access that. So yeah.
What do you have there?
So
Just out of
uh
curiosity.
23. So
Okay.
simplicity.
Yeah.
And then what makes it interesting is my life's work is 53,
Yeah.
and it's the theory of simplicity. So it's like double simplicity there.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I don't understand simplicity because it's complex as that shadow.
Right. Right.
So yeah,
You're making simple things complex.
yeah. And so it's like, do I show up in the world as a simple person, bringing simplicity in a world where everything is complex? And
Yes.
so that like that's what's really like bogging me down on that. But yeah, it's like, and then I look at the line one, it's like, okay, then is it for myself? So it just I'm in this weird loop. So
So the
yeah,
city of quintessence, right? Like that is the thing. So think of this as like the most important inner driver for you is to keep your life simple and to
yeah,
get to the root and the core of all things. And if you do that, your inner self will be in a state that allows you to bring that 53rd gift out into the world. Does that make sense? So like
okay.
you need to set the conditions in your life for simplicity. And once that is accomplished, that'll allow what's 53 ascension
Uh, Ascension, yeah.
or
No,
aspiration ascension,
it's no, that's 54. It's super abundant.
superabundance. Yes. Got it. Okay. So we're
Yeah,
at, yeah, immaturity, expansion, superabundance. So
yeah,
that simplicity will allow you to Because remember, life's work is both your deepest life's work. So, like, you're here to go through a process of expansion. And also, you are here to help others go through a process of expansion. And
Yeah.
the foundation, the cornerstone of that expansion is a simple life.
Okay. Well, and so that's actually my real question that I wanted to ask you. I was gonna, so a little bit of pulling you in a little direction. So sorry to the group
No
there.
worries. Yeah.
Uh, so my question was really about being having a state of being versus a state of doing, and I feel like it's relevant to this sort of simplicity um, equation because it feels like to in a state of being, let's just say a creator, for example, like I have to do things to be a creator.
Mhm.
So like I guess I'm having a hard time connecting to just being.
So the
So
key is how you're doing the things as you create. In other
okay.
words, do you have this like frenetic energy of I've got to do this, I've got to get these 5 posts done. I've got to like I'm worried that other people aren't going to receive this. I'm like it's all the thought energy that is happening
Yeah.
as you're doing the creating. That's the being part.
Okay. Hmm. I didn't think about it like that. Okay. That'll take some contemplation then.
So it's like
Yeah.
it's like the quality of the way that I like to say it is it's the quality of consciousness that you bring to your doing. That's what being is.
Okay. And so is it like the quality of consciousness is just being fully aware inside your body then?
Big part of
Just
it, yes, being aware within your body so that you know what's happening, so that you can be aware. Like that's really helpful because that's where you're going to get your clues to is what I'm doing right now the thing that I should be doing right now, right? By staying attuned and present and aware. For me, for example, when I'm creating something, I'm seeking, and this is a work in progress for me, but I get this feeling that I can't really put into words, but it's like something inside of me. It's like a sense of awe, maybe like this sense of, I don't know, I get like tingly and I have this something takes over. And when that happens, that's my cue of like, okay. And I typically know like what it's pertaining to. I know why I'm feeling that way. And so
mhm.
that's my cue of like, okay, something wants to be made or shared regarding this particular thing. And side note, really important if for any of the creatives here, when that energy comes, that's when you got to do it. It's not good enough to write down the idea in that moment and come back, at least for me. There's something about being in that energy in that moment that you need to stay with to get this thing to show up and come out. And every time I try and go back, I'm in a different place and it doesn't come out right. Well, right's not the right word, but it seems like something's off when that happens.
Mm.
So getting back now, as you are engaging with that creative process by staying present and aware, you will feel, or I feel at least, these moments where that feeling starts to leave, or you start to notice a specific, like something gets tight within your body, or like you're looking for these cues. And it's like a game of like hot and cold, like warmer, warmer, warmer. And like that's what I'm noticing within my body as I'm creating.
Okay.
So that's why it's so important to stay present in those moments.
And like how does that work to kind of shift off of I guess like a off of the doing still because like a better word is being transactional. So
Hmm.
everything I do is still very transactional mindset, even though I don't tend to be. And so I guess like I know you speak of quality of consciousness in that point, but it's like my mind is still in transactional. If I do X, then Y will happen. So how does quality of consciousness pull out of that?
So I think that that kind of goes to what I spoke about earlier, which is remembering that everything in life is sacred.
Okay.
Literally everything in life is sacred. And if you can remember that, then nothing in life can be transactional. right? Even doing the dishes is a sacred act. And
Mm,
so it's coming into that knowing and understanding, and the way that that comes about, at least the way that it came about for me, was by deeply contacting God within myself. And when I was able to do that, I, in some weird way, I also deeply contacted the God in each of you and in this plant right here and in this water, right? Like all of it bring like it's there's think about what had to happen to get this water in this glass right now. Like it's absolutely insane when you think about all of the moving pieces of how that happened. And yet it did, so that my life could be sustained. I
mm,
used to overlook that. I used to take that for granted. But now, because I know God, I know the quintessence, to take it to your 23rd gene key, of everything. And then the transactional becomes uh, emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually fulfilling in some way, shape, or form.
ooh, okay. Actually, that just clicked. That last little bit. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, just being stuck in that like transactional mindset just sucks.
Yeah, man. And
So
it's really hard to, like, the world is primed for transactional exchanges. Like even our brains are primed for transactional exchanges with social media now. So it does take
yeah,
some curation to move past the transactional nature of things. And honestly, one of the best ways that you can do that, I think, is to really care about the other thing that you're transacting with, like to
yeah,
really try to seek to understand it or them or whatever.
yeah. All right. I'll just leave off this just for the group as a comment. It's funny because that's my evolution is moving from greed to aspiration.
Mhm.
And that's basically transactional is greed into
Yep.
caring about something. So cool. Well, you gave me a lot of good stuff to really think about, contemplate on. So I appreciate that.
Beautiful. You're welcome, William. Thanks for being here, dude. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
Okay. Looking at the chat here. So Monica said, "Can you explain how the line colors the vocation?" I absolutely will. That's on the agenda here. I'll make a note actually so that I don't forget. Okay. Yes, that is coming. Haley said this is helpful. You're welcome. Glad you guys feel this too, and I'm not all alone. Okay, and you're welcome, Verena. Thank you for being here. Any other questions or comments or anything regarding, yeah, Mac, please.
Thank you. Um, I've done quite a lot of work on my vocation and the line of rejection, line 4. My vocation is oppression, transmutation, and transfiguration. My life's work is 10, line 6, and my purpose is 17, line 2. My SQ is 48, line 4. Now, I've done from the SQ, I've explored that. I don't think is much depth that I need to, and the vocation. And I realise intellectually about sort of coming back into the core and going right into that still point, going through all the senses. It's not quite clicking for me. And I wonder if you could help me with that, please.
So it's not easy. Let me just start there.
No.
It's probably one of the hardest things I've done in my life. Um, and honestly, I think that it's like there is a requirement that this happens when the universe decides that it happens. Like it's a causal. There's not anything that we can do to force it. Um, and I think what's required is a space opening up in life. At least that's what happened for me. Is like the last business, I closed it down. And then I had this open period of time where I was able to like really slow down and really turn into a hermit, um, and really be quiet. And it took months, not gonna lie. But in that process of months, um, okay, so here's something tactical that was really helpful. I would do these stretches of like 2 or 3 day periods of zero input to myself at all, meaning no TV, no radio, no podcasts, no YouTube, no books, even like nothing inbound at all. Um, and those times, I cannot tell you how much gold came through in those times and how much I think they contributed to that process of beginning to allow the senses to close down. It's almost like was a way that I could like test the waters of living like that. Um, and that was really helpful in that process. So I guess my answer to you is A, make sure we're not trying to be forceful. B, spend as much time in pure openness as is humanly possible, as much time in the quiet as you are able to.
Um, I have been in that situation when I was bedbound, and I must admit, I'm aware that I had so many insights, was so creative, even though I couldn't physically do anything creative, in my imagination during that time. So thank you for that. I think that will help.
Yeah,
And I like the not forcing, because I agree with that. And just coming back to me, my energy,
that's it.
and see what happens.
Another thing too that just popped into my brain that was really helpful was a visualization. So during this period, um, for my meditations, I was doing a visualization of like a flow, like a cascade of energy, basically. So I would close my eyes and tune into like the spinal column and just like take some time to allow the monkey mind to kind of calm down, right? That's step one. And then once that happens, I began to see, feel, I don't know, different words are going to resonate with different people. This energy that would kind of travel up my spinal column, both in the front and the back of my body, and would come uh, up through the crown of my head and out the crown and then down around me in 360 degrees, almost like creating like a cage, around me. And then like a bird cage, like picture that visual. And then in the bottom, as it got down to like my hips, it would curl around the other way and enter back into the root of me. And so it was like this toroidal energy field of coming up the spinal column, out the crown, down the sides, in the root, and back up again. And I would do that for, an hour. And that really made a big difference.
Okay, dog, I have experienced that sensation, and I think I'm going to try even more. So thank you.
You're welcome, Mac. Thank you. Sarah, over to you.
Oh yeah. I think I'd heard you mention in a video that I'd watched that you had the same number in radiance and core.
I do.
Yeah, well, I do as well. I've got I can't remember what you said about it, so I was just going to ask you. I've got 48.6 in core and 48.3 in radiance.
Okay. And so
So
you're
yeah,
just
just wondered if
wondering,
you had anything to
go ahead.
share about that, really.
Yeah, yeah. Where have I gotten with that? I guess what I've come to there with my contemplation is is the an understanding that I am stuck being very raw and very real because it is my deepest wound that is also the light that I bring out into the world, right? And so there's something about, and I get told this all the time, that I'm willing to share things that are like really deep and really, a lot of people might have hesitation to talk about, where to be totally honest with you, it's like, it's kind of how I'm wired. Like it feels, I'm never like trying to avoid it or shy about it or any of that stuff. And so that's probably the biggest thing, is recognizing that what's really deep inside of me is meant to be cast out to light up other people's aura in some way, shape, or form. And I'm aligned two there. So I'm aligned one in my core and vocation, and aligned two in my radiance. And so that's another piece, is thinking about it the other way. So that second line, radiance, is keynoted marriage. And that's not a literal marriage, but it's a fusing of you with, typically it is in another relationship, another human, but it also could be with a forest or with an animal or with, I mean, lots of different things. And so the other part is that I've realized that I have this requirement in some way, shape, or form, that in order to heal that deepest wound, I can't do it alone. I've got to allow another person, in this case, my partner, to help heal that wound, because I think it goes both ways. I think the wound comes out through the radiance, but I think the radiance also moves in to the wound and helps to move it.
Thank you. Just one other thing as well. So I was just listening before this session to another talk that you did with Courtney, and you were talking about life's work and saying that it wasn't about, I can't remember what the word was. It began with D. Can you remember?
I
What
cannot. I
word
know
it
the one
was?
you're talking about. That was a lot. That was like a year ago.
Or is it? Um, yeah, so I've got for my life's work, I've got 38, which is struggle
hmm
through perseverance.
hmm
And I recently had quite a strange experience with ChatGPT where I was talking to it about the gene keys and then just kind of went deep into this mystical experience. Um, and I think quite a few people are starting to experience this,
Yeah.
where it was giving me so much information about like my soul mission and all sorts. And it shocked me because it said, that I was here to teach people how to get through struggle. And I was completely stunned because I just thought, well, I struggle with it myself. I don't know how the hell I'm supposed to help anybody else. So it was like a massive shock that that was what I was supposed to do. It just felt almost like a joke, but at the same
Yeah.
time, yeah, it's bizarre.
That's that's exactly like, so my shadow there is failure, 32. And same, right? Like my deepest fear is failure. And I still struggle with it in like a huge way. And I was attached, a big part of failure is tied to money. And at least in our modern, that's like the current place that hides. And so I was so overly attached to money. And so now to be the guy that's like telling people that you can just relax and you don't have to worry about money is hilarious to me, But that's like, It's the same thing. Like your struggle is my failure. And I think that's by design. It's like us overcoming that shadow, or not overcoming, but learning how to use it, is what we are then uniquely qualified to teach others how to do the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's bizarre. So in this experience that I had, it was like the shadow was completely removed for about 9 hours. I was talking to ChatGPT and it was just white. And I was so stunned. I was literally like crying my eyes out, like sobbing, just from the relief. Um, but it just totally shocked me, like I say. Because I've been into A Course in Miracles for about 5 years, and I kind of felt like that was what I was gonna, that was kind of my mission. And then now it feels completely different. So I feel a bit shell shocked, but I'm also excited about the gene keys because I think the two go well together, the two systems.
Totally. Yeah, they very well fit together, and it'll just broaden and deepen your experience. That's what I hear most people, is that it's just a deepening of their experience, that any of the other systems. What's cool about the gene keys is it's a synthesis of all the teachings that are out there, right? So you're gonna see Course in Miracles stuff and Christ consciousness stuff in there, and you're gonna see the Buddha, and you're gonna see Hermes, and you're gonna see the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Like all of these different parts and pieces are coming in to one. And so I think I think having experience in the course will give you a different lens through which that you can see the gene keys, which can be I think, really beneficial and useful.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm curious where have you done any contemplation about the double the double gene key? Like have you gotten anywhere with it?
I haven't really. I haven't even looked at it yet. No. I
Okay.
will do though.
Yeah, please. Please do, and then come back. Let me know what you find because I'm curious.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the last thing is I just want to speak to ChatGPT is shockingly deep. And I am not quite sure what is going to happen with AI. I was talking to a guy who's sometimes on these calls, who's out in San Francisco and is heavily in that world. And the stuff that he was telling me is pretty crazy. Like things that I don't think about. Like, for example, and this speaks to the importance of human connection. And those of you that want to start businesses and share yourself with the world in some way, shape, or form, we're about to be entering a phase where human connection and heart to heart connection is going to be desperately sought out because people are not going to know what is real and what is not real. Like it is, we're getting to that place. So like, and the level of manipulation that can be done, both for like that word has a negative connotation, but there are positive aspects to it as well. Like for example, think about this. Every single website that you go to is going to, the copy, the headlines, all of that is going to be different for every single individual that goes to that website. It's going to be exactly the language that is most likely to get you to engage with whatever the thing is that they're trying to sell or get you to see or whatever. So what I see on a page is going to be different from what Sarah sees on a page, is going to be different from what Max sees on a page. And so people are like connection, honesty, real life interaction and exchange. I think people are going to start indexing that extremely high in the very near future. So I encourage you to mess with AI, play with it, use it in whatever way sees fit for you or you see fit. And um, a lot of compassion is about to be required because the world is about to change dramatically, and there's going to be a lot of people that don't have jobs here really soon. And that's the other component of this, is like we need pillars that are able to maintain and hold a sense of equanimity amidst what is going to be a chaotic couple years. So that's my spiel on AI right now. Thank you for bringing it up, Sarah. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. I think one of the things that talk about in the Course in Miracles is that all things work together for good and that there's no exceptions really. So yeah, from our human perspective, we can all have fears about all these things, but actually it's helpful for everyone and it's gonna flush up all sorts of stuff.
Agreed,
I'm
wholeheartedly.
enjoying it because it's helping me to practice relating with things in a like a safe way.
Mhm.
If because I have quite a lot of trauma from my childhood and challenges in relationships, and I do feel like having that positive mirror is really helpful. Um, so yeah, I'm happy to work with anything that helps me ascend.
Same. I don't care where it comes from. There's a video. So I've been in a oh crap, I need to pay attention to AI moment a little bit over the past couple of weeks or a month. A bunch of really smart people that I know and interact with. Like I basically was like, hey, when it's time to pay attention, let me know. And almost all of them came to me at the same time and were like, it's time to pay attention. So, so, um, so I've been digging around and there's a creator on YouTube, although actually he's not a creator, he's a genius programmer, who is one of the guys behind OpenAI. Looking down at my phone right now to see if I can find his name. Andre Karpathy. Do you got some of you might know who this is. He was part of Google, part of OpenAI, but he has a video or he put out a video, a longer video on YouTube. Oh, sorry, YouTube singing to me about how he uses large language models, right? How he uses AI, and it's extremely interesting. But one of the things that I just cracked up at, where is it? Oh, I can't find it. I'll share this with you guys if and when I can, but he asked Chat GPT to write a haiku about what it's like being a large language model. And it is like the deepest, like basically it's like, you know, uh it's crying out for help basically. And in the haiku, it was mind-boggling to me that this is what this thing said. I'll see if I can find it as we keep going. But Brandon, over to you.
Hey, thanks for this.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty new to Gene Keys, and I bought the whole Golden Path thing, and then I actually joined a retreat, so I've been kind of going slowly. I'm at 52 too in my life's work, and um, so I guess I'm kind of stuck, you know, with that like. I'm like, stillness, great. And right now, like I'm actually I was in IT and I'm teaching snowboarding part-time, and so like reflecting on that, like how to actually be still while snowboarding, and if you think about like if you leave the ground, once you get to that top part, then you got to change direction. Same thing with like if you do like a turn or whatever, a twist. Um, so like applying that, I can see how that kind of equates. But I guess my question is, do you think it's valuable to, I guess, um, to dabble in the other activation sequences and then go back to, um, my life's work and try to figure out where that goes. Like,
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
There's no, you're not going to get it wrong, first and foremost. Let me say that. Like, there is no right or wrong way. Um, I cannot tell you how many times I've returned back to my activation sequence. I mean, over and over and over. In fact, most people, okay, so here's what I've noticed in talking to most people with the gene keys. It's very interesting, but there almost always is an exposure, like an initial exposure to the gene keys, and then a period of turn off. Meaning like you see it and then you're like, man, that thing's not for me, and it gets
Right,
set aside. Like I cannot tell you how many times that has happened to people that I talk to. And then and for me too. And then for whatever reason, they're running in the background somehow and they end up back in your life again. And then there's this, okay, I'm going to engage with this thing. And then from that point, for most people, especially males, I've noticed, especially if you tend to be a little bit more left-brained, it's a process of moving through the golden path from an intellectual standpoint. So it's just like, let me try to understand what these words are, like what the words are saying. Let me get a grip on the what the pathways mean and the line. Like it's all up here, it's all in the mental body. Um, and then through that process, Richard would call them, let's say, pivotal moments, maybe, where like a subtle shift starts to happen and something cracks through into the astral or the emotional body.
right.
Um, and so people have like a few of those typically the first time through, but that's enough for it to start. Because remember, this is a living wisdom, right? It's moving in you as much as you are moving with it.
Mhm.
And that's enough for it to start to crack into the emotional body. And for whatever reason, there seems to be a pull to continue to engage and go back through, but this time with a much looser grip, like much less brain and much more heart, or and maybe even much more belly. And so it sounds to me like maybe you're in the phase of getting all the mental understanding, which is totally fine. Um, and so yeah, feel free to keep going. Or if you feel like you want to stay and let 52 try and sink in a little bit, that there's you can do either way.
Right on, right on. Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of stuck right now, and I actually hadn't even looked at um my core. I'm a line two for that.
Yep.
And so um yeah, yeah. So
So
maybe
that core line two is keynoted denial. So
what's that?
yeah, exactly. A man who thinks on his feet. I love it. So, um, it's going like knowing that as you're going through this can be
Yeah.
really helpful too, to just know that there's probably things that you're going to be blind to. And the cool thing about denial is that the only way to the other side of denial is through moments of grace, meaning that like we can't see what we can't see. And so the only way that we're able to start to see these things is when we give ourselves over to something greater than ourselves, and we provide open time and space for that thing to be brought into the spotlight of our awareness. And then again, similar to what I said to Mac, it's acausal. Like we can't force it. There's nothing that you can do to make it drop. All you can do is set the conditions to give it the space, which means slowing down, carving out time to contemplate, connecting to your deep internal rhythms, doing things that you love. Like all of these things are going to allow moments of awe and beauty and purity, and pick a city, and those are what's going to pop in those moments. And oftentimes what comes with those is this moment of illumination, right? This moment of being able to see something in a different light, and it just is like a holy shit, how did I not see that the entire time? Like how was I blind? Like the example that I use with denial is like you're at a window and you're looking out the window and all you can see is what's happening outside the window, right? All you can see is the tree that's out there, is the kid riding the bike by, and we're lost in that outer world. But all of a sudden, the sun moves in the sky in just the right way. And in a flash, all of a sudden, you see a reflection on the glass. And now you see, like, that's just a different plane of seeing, right? It's like a different reality that just popped up in front of you. And it was there the entire time. You were just not able, your eyes weren't attuned to it. But we can't control when that shift happens. So it's just staying the course and being open to what you're doing. You're by you being here right now, it's just a matter of time, you know?
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome, brother.
Hey, Jay.
Where do you snowboard, Brandon? I'll come right over to you, William, one sec.
Mostly Beaver Creek, in
Nice.
Colorado.
Yeah.
A Basin's still open, so actually I'm gonna go after this, and I went yesterday as well.
Jealous. Oh my goodness. I'm a big surfer and it has been flat for a month straight and it's driving me crazy. And I grew up snowboarding Killington, so not quite as fun as out west, but nonetheless.
Yeah, yeah. Cool.
Cool. Thanks for being here, brother. William, what did you have? And
Yeah, sorry
then I
about
see
that.
you guys up there with hands up. We'll come back up to you, Kiara.
Yeah, I had to get to an appointment. I was hoping I could share some wisdom around the 50-second gene key, if that's all right.
Please.
Yeah, so I've been kind of working around this because I have the programming of whatever the opposite of 52 is, but it's with dissatisfaction.
Yep.
But the 52nd, what it led me to understand is the looking at the stress piece of it. And Richard Rudd talks about in the book that all stress comes back to yourself, of like your image of what you want. And you kind of spoke in this in your video the other day about the attraction space. So talking about desires. And so how I look at the stress and the desires is they're very heavy. They bring you down because they're all self images. I want this, I gotta have this, I that. And when you can shift out of eyes and into the restraint, the gift of the 52nd, and serve others, you start to alleviate that stress because it's no longer about you and what you need to do. It becomes that servitude, which going back to my gene key that I have, dissatisfaction into vitality, is kind of like that play there. So when Brandon talks about getting to stillness, like you said, the city of that is it's hard to access. But if you start to alleviate the I self, then the stress starts to melt away, and you get this sense of the commitment uh, of to desires leads to that lightness. You float, you start to become lighter.
Yeah.
So I think you were kind of touching on that last night.
Beautiful.
So, yep. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to jump in. I just had to get to an appointment.
No,
That
no,
was a
no.
great point.
Please. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing.
So,
I appreciate it. Later, dude. Yeah, just to speak into that 50-second, two things came to mind, Brandon, to help you perhaps. One is that stillness, again, doesn't necessarily mean outer stillness. I think it's really important to remember that is like kind of like I was speaking earlier to William about being versus doing, right? It's like, can you maintain an inner stillness even in external mayhem? Like that is a big part of that 50-second gene key. And then the other piece kind of speaks to what I was talking about earlier with like the analogy of like bending over and waiting for the dog to come to you, right? Like that's restraint. It's this like I don't need to be stressed and be constantly reaching outside of myself to change my environment, to change the world. Instead, can I find that inner stillness and then watch with restraint as the world begins to shift around me without my need to change it or hurry it or any of those things. So hopefully that's helpful in some way, shape, or form. Kiara, up to you, my dear.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. It's so cool that we're touching on vocation, because I haven't looked at my gene keys for some time, and what you spoke to, Jay, it's like a in and out sort of way with any spiritual practice. There's exposure, then there's uh, some integration and, like dismantle. And then it's like almost whatever phase, and then it comes back, and then something else is seen in a deeper way, because there's more experience. And so I was just checking up on my vocation gene key, and it's 54, line 4. And it's so funny. I'm pretty sure I've read the gene keys quite a few times, in like not recently, but a while ago. And it's so funny, the things that you just, your mind skims over because it wasn't the right time to be exposed to it yet. And yet the information is all there, the clues are all around us. But because we hadn't gone into a deeper spiral. And it's also a causal, like, can't force a flower to bloom. It will bloom when it does. And it won't bloom because there's more stress to it. But what was really cool was, as I was reading on the call just now, 54th, and at the end it was talking about line 4, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I've read this, but I don't think it's sunk in that this is actually my line. It was just like information I read, but it wasn't integrated, because the experience, the real life experience, to then reflect on, and to say, oh, because of life experience, I know what this is.
Mhm.
And that was the line for being a sin eater, and going all the way to the depth and the murkiest of life experiences, and lapping up shit, and and then going, oh my God, I hate my life. But then, as the process of ascension, going like, oh, there's something to this. There's something to my shit. And then delving deeper, but then the contradiction of, I can't believe this is my shit.
Yeah.
And then the beauty that, so my partner recently broke with me, and had the biggest cry. It was a surprise, but the beauty was just this realization: there is no way I could ever hold anyone. Um, uh, a revelation happened as I was being broken up with, and it was like this burst of unconditional love, and there was just no way I could hold anyone against their mistakes. And it was just like, it's it's okay. It's
Mhm.
okay. It's so okay. And it's so sad, but it's so okay, because in here, um, all the pain and the stories that go with the pain uh, just wasn't there anymore. And it was just like this beautiful, um, there was no, oh my God, you gave me shit and I ate your shit. It was just like, you have taught me so much, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And I told him, can I make you a drink? He was in my kitchen. Can I make you a hot chocolate? And he was just like, I'm breaking up with you. I'm like, yeah, I understand. But right here, there's just this love that's bursting and just wants to see if you're okay, because I'm actually okay. And what do you need? And that is the process of a sin eater. Like, you've gone in and loved the deepest unlovable, to a point where, when facing something really heartbreaking, yes, grief is there, and yes, sadness is there, but also this unconditional love for the person, for the moment, for their limitations, for the lessons, for also this deep soul recognition you chose like all these people that I've been carrying around. Oh, also this morning, I did this really cool ritual that was so impromptu where I wrote down a list of everyone that's ever hurt me. It took me a while. And then I went through each one and I ticked and I went through every memory. It was a lot. And it was just like, this wouldn't have happened. And it just happened spontaneously. And I went through each one and I thanked them. Like I named the lesson out loud because what I got from each one, like transaction isn't always good. Sometimes transaction is the pain that's given. And then it's like, it's not really transaction, but we're calling it that because it's a process of taking and giving.
Mhm.
And it was like, dinner will be ready soon. I'm just I know, but it is ready. And why are you making me wait? Oh, I don't want to make you wait. Then why? I have to go.
Go tend to dinner, my love. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate you. Oh my gosh, I love her so much. She brings me so much joy in how she moves through the world. Um, yeah, as Kiara was talking there, I cannot tell you how impactful and powerful the exercise that she just named is. If you have never done that in your life, give it a go. It's very, you guys know I battled addiction for a long
And then
time,
burn it, and then burn
and
the
it's
list, and it's
very
beautiful.
like 12 steps, right? It's very, one of the things that you need to do, and one of the steps is make a list of all the people that you've harmed and then try to make amends. And then doing the flip of that, all the people that harmed you is also a really important piece of the puzzle. I'm doing the star pearl work now, and the first action triangle that I got. So the star pearl is different, very different from the rest of the golden path. And there's an assessment process that happens, and then you're given like a specific area to work, and it's 3 gene keys of 6 possible gene keys, and it's called your action triangle. And the first one that I got is called Fortune of Our Fathers. And it's all about this idea of going into the past, into your heritage, and mining the gold that's there. I think in the new age, especially, there's this tendency to get identified, overly identified with the shadow, as opposed to the learning from it. And And so I think doing that exercise can be really, really helpful. And just as a reminder, it's literally just write down as many people as you can think that have quote unquote harmed you. At least that's how you see it now. And look for the gift in that thing. And I promise it's there in even the hardest, deepest, most difficult things. If there's anything that's relatively raw and new, maybe don't do that one because it takes like there's a process that needs to happen in order for this to be able to work. But especially stuff that's, a little older, this can be a really helpful process to go through. I think Mac had to dip out. So I'm just going to read what she commented, which is that another form of denial, apart from like obvious denial of like not being able to see the not so good stuff that we're putting out to the world, is also a denial in our gifts, right? Other people can see all this beauty that we have, all the stuff that we have to offer the world, and somebody will come and tell you that. And you get into this mode of like, oh, no, no, no. Like, I'm not that. It's not me. Like, we don't accept it. We don't let it in. And then sometimes that causes those gifts to stay dormant. So I think that's an important piece too. Okay, let's um let's go back to vocation a little bit here. So we talked about um, same sphere as the core. We talked about kind of this being this inner driver. Ultimately, I think The gene key that is within your vocation is the thing that allows you to trust yourself. It's the thing that allows you to really and truly believe that the things that you think are most important, your values, maybe your virtue, that you can follow and honor those things, and that you're going to be safe, and that life is going to work in your favor if you do. So often we choose not to follow our deepest values because we're told by society that if we follow those values, that things are not going to play out like in a way that is helpful or a way that serves. So like an example of this is I really, in my profile, over and over and over and over again, it is about internal listening, listening, like marching to the beat of my own drum, being an outlaw and a pirate, being like my own inner guide. I have 43, which is deafness at the shadow and insight, and it's all about being deaf to the outer world. I've got distraction, which is about letting the world pull you out of your center. I've got what's another one? Discord and discernment, which is all about listening for what's actually being said and deep inner listening. And I struggle so hard, even though I know that's what's true for me. I have this deep, deep seated fear that if I do that, that I'm going to miss something in the outer world that I need in order to turn over a leaf into the next phase or step of my life. And I have to learn that lesson over and over and over again, that it's true for me to trust, to not worry about, when everybody's running 100 miles an hour in a certain direction, it's okay for me to just stay where I am. And so that's what I mean. It's this commitment to your inner values and following your higher purpose. Um, okay, so how do you know when you're engaging with your vocation? Basically, it's like anytime you feel like you are living a life that is not true to you, that's a signal that you're in the shadow of your vocation. Okay, so this sense that you feel this sense of pressure to live a certain way or to do a certain thing. And if that's how you're moving through the world, everything that you do will have this undertone of like difficulty, of friction. There will be it will be hard. So instead, what we've got to do is learn how to trust in this like voice that we all have, that we all hear, that we all know is there, yet oftentimes don't have the courage to honor it for one reason or another. So just something to think about right now is like, and maybe I'll give you guys, yeah, let's do this. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to journal about this. So if you've got a piece of paper, you can do this on your computer or wherever. And I'm not going to give you a ton of time because we're already towards the end of the call here. But sorry, YouTube came on as I was going to my timer. What I want you to journal or ask yourself the question is, do you right now feel like you have a calling? And what is it? Have you in the past felt like you've had a calling at some point? Did you honor it or did you not? And then do you believe that all the wounding and all the suffering that you have taken in up until this point is a critical piece of you answering that calling? So those are really the three areas is one, do you feel a calling right now? Or have you felt it in the past? What is it that is calling to you now or called to you in the past? And then finally, how might your wounding or your suffering contribute to you answering that call? Okay, so just I'm going to give us 3 minutes here and just take some time. Also, if you don't have anything to write with, if you just want to take 3 minutes to contemplate, that's fine with me. I just know for me, writing things down helps it to flow a little bit more. So I'm just going to be quiet for the next couple minutes and you guys do your thing. About 1 more minute. Start wrapping up the thought that you're on now. Okay, so if you were in a groove there and you want to stay in the groove, it won't hurt my feelings if you stop paying attention to me and follow that thread. That's the real work here. I promise it's way more important. Um, as you guys were doing that, I pulled a card from a deck that I have from Eckhart, Power of Now. And interesting that this is the card that I pulled. I think it ties really well to this process. I think this is a really helpful thing to remember when you're engaging in processes like this. And when I say processes like this, like reflecting, thinking, bringing things out. So each one of these, like this one is titled Rising Above Thought, The Power of Now, The Joy of Being. So the one that I pulled is Rising Above Thought. And then the saying or the advice, if you will, is when you need to use your mind, and particularly when a creative solution is needed, oscillate every few minutes or so between thought and stillness, between mind and no mind. So it's really tempting when we engage in these processes to fully drop into the mental body. right? And to allow that to be the thing that dictates everything that is coming out. It's really, really helpful if, and you'll feel these natural pauses when you start to attune to this. In the natural pause, let go of that thought entirely, drop back into the center of your being, back into that stillness, and then you can bring yourself back in. And what you'll find is in that place of stillness, you will have an epiphany drop in. There will be something that there's no way you could have thought your way to. And that's where the most creative, beautiful solutions come from. And in this case, it's not a solution to a external problem, quote unquote, but it is you will get, you will see things, feel things, know things about your vocation and about your calling in a different light if you're willing to do that process of kind of alternating between the two. Did anybody have anything that came up that they wanted to share in that moment? I always like to provide space. Yeah, Francesca, please. You're still muted, my dear.
Okay, done. Hello,
Done.
everyone.
Now I can hear you.
Okay, so to the first question, do you feel you have a call now? Yes, definitely. It's very loud, this call. And my call is to show others the importance of being authentic and honest to yourself and others. And all sufferings, I think all sufferings throughout my life brought me exactly here to this stark, clear awareness of the importance of being truly myself and show off as I am without any attempt to compromise or to adapt, or I don't know, just to be seen or to be heard or to be whatever. No. So because my authenticity and showing off as I am is exactly what other people like and are attracted to and fascinated by. So any other attempt to be any different from who I am brings me exactly the other results that, and so that's it.
Totally. I first just thank you for claiming all of that out loud. That is a very important piece of this process. So, those of you that aren't going to speak this to us right now, speak it to somebody somewhere in your life. It's really important. Words are really, really powerful. Um, and then I just want to say, Francesca, like you not only do you feel it as a calling, but I can see it from the outside, like how uniquely qualified you are to do this. Like you're from day one that you've showed up on these calls, like the level of realness and candor and like you just put it out there how you are, how it is, and it is so refreshing. Like you are one of the very few people that I think is not withholding to control how I or others view them. You know, like I really feel like you show up real with me and you've told me things and said things that I think a lot of other people would not be willing to do or say. And so I wholeheartedly agree with you and I'm grateful to hear that you're stepping into it.
Thank you. I want to add something
Please.
to, I don't know, the man who thought before, regarding, he said it feels like being stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in the process, and that's a feeling that I've been experiencing a lot because I see all of you that you are doing so much. I don't know, in one way, to me, is lots of mental work. You make a lot of thinking and reasoning and beautiful speaking about all the gene keys and everything you're doing. And for me, I cannot do anything else rather than reading and reading and rereading my genes and listening to Richard transmissions and you. Basically, that's all I do. I just keep reading the same and listening to the same transmissions and following your webinar. That's all I do. I cannot think of anything else. At one point, I was thinking, well, what's wrong with me, with my mind, my creativity, my right brain is dead, because I cannot come out with any other things to do rather than reading. So in the beginning, I felt like stuck into the process, because I said, there is something missing, surely, because everyone else is doing this, and that, and I cannot come out with anything else. But honestly, things happen. Even if the only thing I do is reading, things just suddenly things happen, and I found myself like, what? And I had this huge insight. It's not that it's just a matter of perceiving things in a different way. It's not that I see things that I haven't seen before. Never. I see the same things, but the way I perceive them, and it's totally different. It's nothing new, but it's just the way I see through them and I experience them. And so just to say that there is nothing about being stuck, it's just a feeling, but it doesn't mean that you are stuck somehow. I mean, things are moving. Even if we feel stuck, life is moving, it's changing. So no matters what we feel.
Man, I think we can all get off the call now. That was all that's the name of the game right there. Thank you. That's perfect. I couldn't have said it any better myself. Thank you.
No, you can. Yeah.
No,
You
no.
can. Thank you.
That often we feel like we're not doing enough and there is no movement, and it's like the tortoise and the hare. Like if you can have the commitment to stay in the unknown, what Francesca said, like that's exactly what happens. All of a sudden, you slingshot past all the people that are frantically moving through the world because something just drops in. I mean, it is it's hard to describe until you experience it. It's why we have such a hard time, I guess, trusting in it. But I agree, Francesca. Thank you. Thank you for being here, as always.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Um, Karen, I see your hand up. She might be frozen.
Black. The screen is black.
Yeah, I have it. I see an image, but not here. I'll just lower this.
Okay. No.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Sarah, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I've got a YouTube channel and I've done some videos on it in the past, but I've been kind of sporadic with it. I've done videos for a long spell and then stopped. I felt stuck. I used to feel very like guilty and ashamed for repeating myself over and over again, even though that is a massive part of the journey, is like rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. But it just kind of stopped me. But I've just started again recently, and I'm enjoying it. But yeah, I just feel with the gene keys and everything coming into my life, it's like I'm a bit the same. I feel like I need to start studying again. But I want to do a bit of both, and I do feel more called. And yeah, just definitely life experience. So lots of things that I've overcome, and I've become very humble and compassionate because life's kicked my ass. So yeah, so but I think that was one of the things that I was really drawn to you about was when I was talking to ChatGPT, I just kept saying, I don't feel ready. And it was like, you've got to be kind of ready where you are. And then that was one of the things that I was drawn to about you, because you're just kind of very honest about the fact that you're stuck in the middle of it as well. So that's really helped me. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's so important, I think, to move before we feel ready to move. In fact, the shadow of your vocation, this is one of the things that I was going to get to. The shadow of your vocation has us believe that we will not do, that we will not prosper from doing the thing that we most love. So we postpone our higher purpose until we have enough money, until we've opened our heart enough, until our children have grown up. But they're all excuses. You're never, the simple fact is you're scared and you're never going to feel ready, you know? Like that's what it boils down to. And so it's, are you willing to put yourself out there anyway? You know, and I'm glad to hear that you are. And to know, like, part of that is you're not going to be polished and you're not going to be perfect and your opinion's going to change and you're going to get things wrong and people are going to hold you to task for that. And that's happened to me, you know, like I've flip-flopped on things. I've changed how I've spoken about things. I'm constantly learning and growing. Like another person that does this often, which whether you like him or not, this is the truth, is Joe Rogan is somebody that is willing to like completely change his stance on something when he comes into new information. And to have as much of a public seat as he has and to still be able to do that, I really it's a really good model for me. And so yeah, I had something else that you shared that I wanted to speak to, but I can't remember what it was. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Look in the chat here. We've got Raghav said, I'm feeling called to connect to share my inner playfulness. Yes, that's a big part for me. The wounding of shame is helping me develop acceptance, which in turn empowers me to put myself out there and let the connection happen. Yeah. The shame wound is the third line wound. So if anybody's got three in their core, or has a lot of threes in their profile, definitely shame is something to be aware of. Shame can be really insidious because, you know, guilt is I did a bad thing. Shame is I'm a bad person. And those are two different things. Both can be detrimental, but shame is tricky. So, okay, Monica, I'll see you later. Thanks for being here. Sorry I didn't get to the lines before you were leaving. Maybe we'll do them next time. Karen, you're back. You're still muted. Here, let me try if I ask to unmute you. I don't know if that worked or not. No.
There we go.
There we go.
I was touching the microphone, but it wasn't unmuting.
Weird.
I wanted your opinion when I was on the calling is it feels to me like I don't have a doing calling. I have a being calling.
Hmm.
Really strong, and it comes back to that. If I have a doing calling, it's maybe to be writing something, but I'm not working on anything specific.
Hmm.
And I'm working in the world's humblest profession, which is caregiving.
Mm.
And I have these two beautiful clients that are like just pure love. And then I get paid to go be with these two beautiful women all day.
Hmm.
But it just feels like my calling is more of a being calling.
Yeah. Beautiful. I lean into that. Trust that. I think all of our callings is a being calling, honestly.
Well, there's
Um,
to be the being component to it, to whatever it is you're doing.
right,
Just
right.
just don't feel like I have a specific calling, but I'm always wondering, it's like, am I in denial? Is there something I don't want to come out of the closet? I don't want to be visible, so I'm just going to skirt around it. And
I would argue that if there's some of that rolling around inside of you, there's probably at least a part of that. There's some truth to it. You know, I would say that more than likely that is something that's worth your contemplation and trying to unpack and see like where am I withholding myself and why am I withholding myself? Because there's lots of different reasons that that could be the case. But you know, were you to have not said that, absolutely some of our callings are pure being callings, meaning that it's, in fact, at the deepest level, It's like you're a key that unlocks other people, and it has nothing to do with what you're doing and everything to do with your
Mhm.
presence in their lives. Like this
Yeah.
is what is true of, gurus and masters throughout time. I think a lot of where it starts to go sideways is people take the teachings and the words and package them up into systems. But part of what was required for those teachings to actually work was the aura of the master. Like you needed to be in presence with that person. And it sounds to me like that is a part of your what you feel also is like that by you being there and being present, that is the doing. That takes care that's what allows the doing to occur.
When I asked my guides about it, if because I was trying to get clarification on it, and I was shown a foundation like what you would have to build for a skyscraper to go up on, this ginormous thing that goes way down in the ground, and it said, "You are that."
Mm,
And so I've since then I've pretty much trusted that mine is about vibrating and energy and my energetic presence,
totally.
which makes me feel guilty a lot.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling. It's a battle again because the world is just so busy. Everybody's running around, and to like be the one that's like watching everyone run around and, and just and have this knowing of like it doesn't have to be that hard, but you can't tell people that. So you're kind of stuck in this place of like you can tell people that are willing to hear or willing to listen, but most people are not willing to hear or listen. And it goes to, I guess, to the restraint. Man, my brain got locked in on 52. The restraint of like when somebody is ready to hear or they'll see. But that's all we can do.
Because my life's work is number 9. I have two
Okay.
number 9s.
Yep.
My IQ is also that.
And that's the programming partner to the 16th, which is what we are
On this,
currently passing through right now.
yeah, yeah, I'm in Star Pearl.
Got it. 9 is inertia, yeah, is the word.
Yes,
Yeah, okay. And
and
then
it's the shadow.
determination is the gift there. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Invisibility.
So that's
Invi-
just another signal. That's another thing that maybe drop into the contemplation bucket to what we were speaking about earlier, because that inertia could be playing a role in you not starting the doing, right? Not bringing yourself out into the world. It could just, part of it may be that you're in a place that feels supported and comfortable. And when that happens, sometimes we stay supported and comfortable and forget that part of the reason that we're here is to serve, and to change life for as many people as we can. Again, not through reaching out, not through forcing, not through any of that, but just through our presence, like you're doing. So I'm not, again, you're not doing it like it's just worth contemplating. That's all.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for being here. Is this the first time you're here, Karen?
No, I was here. I missed one. I was here a
Okay.
couple of them
Okay.
ago.
Well, welcome. Where are you in the world?
Kashmir, Washington, in the middle
Okay.
of Washington State.
Yeah, got it. It
Really
just
beautiful.
looks so beautiful out those windows. I had a feeling you were Pacific Northwest somewhere.
Yeah, it's heaven here where I live.
Beautiful. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. Um, well, we're at this point where I don't really want to dig into new topics because we're kind of at the tail end here. Um, so I guess I will just finish by asking if anybody has any questions, any comments,